watch the Chicago.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Bear Show. I'm Ivan Vargas. Sorry for the delay. If you were backstage here, you would have heard a lot of cussing at this computer. But I'm here. I made it. 7:05, but I made it. Sorry about I'm a little late. But nonetheless, let's get started. First of all, let's go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Remember to go ahead and like my page. I actually changed my page. It's actually the name of the show. So go ahead and like and share and subscribe to another Bears show on YouTube and Facebook. Make sure you download the YouTube, make sure you download the Sports Zone app wherever you get your apps from, Apple, iTunes, or the Google Store. Make sure you go ahead and like and share Sports Zone Chicago. Nonetheless, thank you guys for coming back and joining me. I'm a little bit out of breath just with the frustration of trying to get this thing to work. Luckily, I'll have a guest coming on today to help me calm down and cool off and settle things while we talk about these Bears, man. Talk about this Bears team. They interviewed a couple more guys today. They've been very, very, very busy since Monday with George McCaskey, since Monday morning, Monday afternoon after George McCaskey's interview. An interview where a lot of people hated it. I think only the McCaskeys loved it. McCaskeys and Phillips loved it. People that are in the Bears circle of trust must have loved it, but pretty much everybody I know hated it. Everybody in Chicago, all the media personalities, they really didn't like it. Another misstep by George McCaskey. Doesn't really speak well in public, and it really was a bear down and go fuck yourself, Chicago. That's kind of where I got it. Like, that's kind of the gist of it. It was, I'm going to go ahead and do what I'm going to do, regardless of what you guys are saying, regardless of the logic that has been spit out from not only former players, but media people and other personalities alike. It's just been a rough week for me. And I've listened to that press conference about 10 times now. And every single time I hear it, I want to make sure, because I want to make sure I hear exactly what this guy is saying. And exactly what he's saying is exactly what you see on the screen. Bear down and go fuck yourself. It's going to be my way or the highway with George McCaskey, regardless of what we say, regardless of the outcome on the football field. You had a couple of guys really challenging him in the media during that press conference. Mark Potash was one in particular. And before I go ahead and bring out our guest, I'm going to play that clip of Mark Potash's question to George McCaskey. George, with the same old status quo answer, the same businessman type answer, answered like this.
Hey, George, you mentioned that you think this model with you at the top works. I'm curious why you think this model works. I mean, with 2 winning seasons and no playoff wins in your 11 seasons, isn't there merit to the argument that somebody else should be heading this search and that the GM should be reporting to a Bill Polian type only? I mean, do you get it that a lot of Bears are unhappy with your record as well?
Yeah, we get that a lot of Bears fans are unhappy, and we're unhappy too, and we're frustrated, and we understand that there's not really a whole lot that can be said today that is going to make people feel better about the situation. And it may even be that once the candidates are introduced, there will be people who say, oh, you picked the wrong guy, or you didn't get it right, or whatever. The only opportunity to produce results is on the field, and that won't be for some time to come. But we think in time, it'll be shown that we've chosen the right people to lead the Bears.
But George, I'm referring to your record as the chairman. How are you accountable for the record that you have? Like you said, it's a bottom line business, wins and losses. No playoff wins, 2 winning seasons. That's not a great record. So how are you accountable for it? And like I said, does that lend merit to the idea that somebody else should be, like a Bill Polian type should be at the top.
Yeah, my performance is reviewed by ownership and the board of directors, and ownership has informed me that it wishes me to continue in this role.
Thanks.
All right, you guys heard that. Ken, you heard that. And with that, welcome in our guest, Kenneth Davis from the UnderCenter podcast, the host, the fearless leader, as Alex Shapiro had so graciously put it this morning on Sean and Maya in the morning, and also that Davis show. So check him out on that Davis show and also the UnderCenter podcast. Our guest, Kenneth Davis. Ken, I look, at least Nagy and Pace are gone, I guess.
Yeah, that's the best part, that they're gone. And, I want to say that there was a slight feeling of relief that they were gone, even though we all sat there and knew, okay, they're gone. Who's going to pick who's next? Because the people that are running the Bears organization don't seem to really know how to go about their business properly. And then to drop that heat, that hot fire, as Dylan would have put it, back on making the band 15 to 16 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Because the crazy part is, he was nervous, but he thought he was serving out heat when he was up there talking that talk. And you're going to bring Ted Phillips, like initially, so I missed the first minute. So I didn't know that Ted was on the call, right? So I came in where he was sitting there and he was talking about the high school kids and he was reprimanding them for what they had done at the game with Nagy's son on the field. All right. So that's where I came in at. So I didn't know that he had brought in before getting to that part that he had sat there and talked about Parker.
Ken, I don't know if I'm cutting out or if you're cutting out.
I'm cutting out.
Yeah, I don't know if it was me. Like I said, I had a little computer issues beforehand. So if I see you good now. You're good now.
Okay.
So I think so. Yeah. So just pick up where you left off.
So, but I didn't at that point until actually we were doing the show this week. I didn't know that he had mentioned, Parker Dickerson before jumping into that. Listen, it was a shit show, just to be honest with you. And I don't know, man. With the Bears, it's a relationship that we know, all right, is dysfunctional. It's just like, look at that. Look at that Justin Fields jersey. I forget whose jersey you used to have before that. But I could only think about memorabilia-wise.
I had Khalil Mack, I had Walter Payton, both on there.
Yeah, I remember the Walter. I could just imagine memorabilia-wise how much money you've given the Bears. You know what I'm saying? And what have they given you in return? This is what I mean about
angst and anger.
Right. And if this was your partner, you would have said, listen, we're either going to go to a therapist or you're going to separate and go our own separate ways. But we're still here, right? And I don't know how to feel about the Bears, to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you why. They have to get it right at least once every 4 or 5 decades, right? That's not a good way to go about life as far as feeling about positive and things moving to a way that you think is going to bring consistency of winning football, right? But they're being open to a degree. Because I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, man, I don't really want to know. And that's like, Ken, you're lying to yourself. You do want to know who they're interviewing, right? But I'm so upset for Monday. It's like, dude, you're just playing with me right now, right? Look, even though they should have a GM, I don't know what the order is. So I guess in a way, he's going to have a large say, and I'm talking about George McCaskey and still Ted Phillips, because that's another part where you sat there and told us, well, I'm in charge, but Ted's going to also still be a large part of this search process to choose the GM and the head coach. So he's still in the same position, basically. And we know that he has your ear. So you're going to, if something happens, you're going to go to him. You haven't been dealing with the general manager. You're going to be asking him how he went about dealing with the general manager, meaning he's still influencing what's taking place. But to get back to my point, I guess George McCaskey is going to have some say in who the coach is, since he's going to probably have interviewed or the majority of the candidates. It'll be interesting when they do hire a GM, if they go GM coach, depending on how big the coach is. And there's only one coach that's out there that's maybe available that I feel like, no, there's two. I said available, even though he's technically not available. Let's just say Jim Harbaugh. All right? If Jim Harbaugh came here, I guess he can choose his general manager. All right. Like if he came here, but like all those other coaches, basically you're going to choose their GM. And I'm sure now if you choose the GM, are you going to be influencing their decision? Because you already interviewed these guys and you know who you like. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's not the way that you want it to go. You have every major sports organization in this city at some point within the last 10 years, basically, change their organizational structure, right? And to certain degrees, but I mean, if you look at it, the Reinsdorf teams were the last to do it, with the White Sox letting Rick Hahn go ahead and take over and bumping Kenny up, and then with Arturias Karnisovas and Mark Eversley taking over the Bulls. But you can already see the results of switching up and changing, right? With the Bears, you don't know. And I mean, that's the worst part, because this was an opportunity. Like, he didn't even give us a good reason why he felt the organizational structure worked. That's like, you can at least tell me that when they ask.
No,
okay,
no,
go ahead.
It was because like at first, and this is why everybody was upset, because you let off with, obviously the death of Jeff Dickerson. You obviously were trying to give condolences, but those condolences were empty. Like that was just a facade in order to go ahead and dig the knife into the Chicago Bears fans and be the moral high horse in this whole thing, and be like, you guys did this. Remember, but I'm going to go ahead and give praise and hide behind this while I have the dagger in my backhand to go ahead and get you with. I just felt like that was so devious in his own way. Like that, that's not how you lead off a press conference. Like, if you're going to lead off a press conference like that, you don't follow it up with then bastardizing your fan base and calling them, pretty much calling them out for something for their frustrations that they've been airing, rightfully so. But I agree that you leave the kid alone. You leave the kid alone. But the thing is that you can't go ahead and do something like that. I just felt like it was so empty and fake.
You know what? I don't know. And I'll tell you why I can't just go along with that. Because he doesn't come out and talk. Think about this. We got everything that people have wanted to know, Arlington Heights up the Googog, because they never come out and talk. So you look at the press, this is their questions from a year now that they've been waiting for to unfurl on him, because none of them come out and face the music. The general manager didn't even come out and face the music. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, the whole situation that happened on Thanksgiving week, which was ridiculous. Like, think about that. Why you can't even realize, and I get the well, if I come out and I answer this question, I got to answer every question. No, you know what you do? You come out, and if you planned at that point, because let's have a discussion. Ryan, meet me up top. All right. Ted, come up in this room. Are we keeping Matt Nagy after this season? Yes or no? I mean, because you would think by Thanksgiving, the writing was on the wall that he was out, correct? Ryan, I'm still thinking about you, but he's out. So what we're going to do, we're going to say that he's still the head coach of this team, and he'll be the head coach. You don't even have to say the remainder of the season, but you will say that during no parts of this season will Matt Nagy be released, right? You come out, and also you say, and this will be the last time that I address this situation. And therefore, you don't have to come out of somebody else if an Ian Rappaport or someone else drops it, because you already said he's going to be here for the remainder of the season. At the end of the year, we'll review and move forward, right? Just like we did last season, we'll do the same thing this year. Now, of course, you don't want to say just because he came back, but you get my point, though, that you could have nipped it in the bud. Now, I'm supposed to think a person that can't even get that right is now going to be smart enough to fix all of this that has been broken since the late 80s, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like that, just like, that's the frustrating part. And it's one of those things where it's like a betrayal with someone where you just deal with it because you want to still have them in your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I mean, they still like doing, fuck shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, you heifer. You know what I'm saying? Just like you are for the streets. Like it's like that with my love affair with this team, because they're so dysfunctional. I have no faith they can get it right. They don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. There's a chance they may get it right this time. Hopefully. I mean, some of this stuff is common sense, though. Who's the brightest right now? All right, like really finding out and talking to somebody outside of just even Bill Polian, give me a lineup. Go to 10, 12 people. And of course, I mean more than that. But I'm also saying look for people that you know have gotten it done in the past, but not the past like they haven't even been in the league for a decade. I'm not taking a shot at Bill Polian. I'm happy he's here to a degree, but I think you could have also perhaps sought the ear of a few other people. Find the brightest people, bring the brightest people in here, let them do their job. Don't do what you did to Nagy Pace. Go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of bringing the brightest people in, right? And I talked about this with Jason, right? It's this about the search team, right? This super duper search team that he's got going, right? He refuses to acknowledge that there should be any type of a football czar. He pretty much calls it some mythical type of position that is not necessary, right? But then you created two positions, not one, but two positions for people that are probably deserving in their own rights, in their own jobs, in their own what they do. But you bring two people in the position that have never made football decisions. You know what I'm saying? Have never decided on picking a head coach. And you brought them in and they're going to be in those, they're going to be involved. But then again, I'm just like, well, you're creating positions for them, and that's fine. I mean, good for Soup Campbell and Tanisha.
Well, they didn't create. I thought he had this job. He's had this job now for several years. You mean he's getting the opportunity to sit in the room? Oh,
in the room. Okay.
Yes. Her job is a new position that they created. But Soup Campbell has been there, I think, for like 5 years, maybe, or something like that. Mm-hmm. So he's the person that's in the lock. He's the connection between them and the locker room. All right.
Right.
And people have raved about him. And I wish he would have called him a Lamar a few more times, because for a second I was like, wait, is this a joke? Somebody's name is Soup Campbell, right? And I'm like, wait. And I'm like, right. And it's like Iron Eagle. It's like, wait, is this for real? Or is this like because I'm like, sometimes it's kind of cool. Like somebody like Matt Strong, you'd be like, okay, or Army Hammer. Army Hammer's a good one. You know what I'm saying?
Major Applewhite.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So when he said that, I'm like, Soup, who is Soup, right? Even though we should know, us being guys here in the media, we should know more, saying about Soup Campbell. But to piggyback on what you said, you basically said, yeah, Tanisha's in the room and she doesn't know anything. And like, wait, here's the question. Who's teaching her? You? Right? Like that's the crazy part. Like, don't tell me like, man, it's so important to have me there and be like, yeah, but he like, no, just don't even address it. You know what I'm saying? Like some things, and I know we all.
And it's not knocking Tanisha at all. It's not like.
No, I would. You know me. I would get Ivan. I would tell you like, hey, hold on, Ivan. You're not gonna be doing that, right? No,
right.
We're not. It's how he went about it. He didn't even have to tell us to the degree that he told us. Like, yeah, she just learning on the job. You didn't have to do that. You could have said, listen, I sought their ear. We know partially you want to have some people of color in the room and some diversity in the room. Listen, hopefully this actually does benefit this sister to the point that it may not even have to be with the Bears, but in other football or sports organizations, whatever she wants to do. And people do view Lamar Soup Campbell fondly. And I don't mean that just like in a like, oh, happy for you, but like he's a person that a lot of people think is a bright gentleman. So that could be better. But also I'll say this. Sometimes you do need another voice. I don't know if those are the voices. It's just, again, it's a dysfunctional situation. And then you get this another thing. So why again? Now I get that, okay, the general manager is the football person. What's wrong with having two? Like what's wrong with, even if you Bill, all right? And everybody's made this all on the airways. Why don't you have some skin in the game, right? You don't have to be in the office every day, every weekday of the week, right? But listen, a couple times during the week, maybe every other weekend, you know what I'm saying? Like the GM is still running it, but you're his ear to bounce it off of. You know what I'm saying? Like you still, I mean, he kind of has to listen, even though it's his job. But why not have someone who is above that person? Like there is too many. And I know football has changed from offensive and defense schematics, right? But still, to a degree, football is football, right? There are too many old ass football people out on the streets, and I'm not even saying that they'd be right, but not to at least see what the hell is Bill Parcells doing right now. right? Just like, and again, I'm not asking you like, dude, for real, you're going to be the president. It's going to be busy. It's going to be stressful. I'm asking you to be my legit right.
Be the
Yeah,
consigliere.
yes. Yeah. Like, so like, especially if like this, imagine me sitting here, I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm doing and I keep messing up, but we going to keep doing it the same way. Actually, I'm going to have more control now. Like, huh? That doesn't.
And that was something that frustrated me because I thought, like I said, the whole thing I felt like was a facade. Whether we, we're obviously gonna.
Yeah, no, it's your opinion. That's your opinion.
Maybe disagree with the JD thing,
right.
But like I felt like the whole thing was a facade because I was like, and I told Sean this. I was like, Sean, if he comes out and he owns it and just says, I screwed up. Like we need to fix this. I haven't been doing the damn job. Period. Like just like that. I haven't been doing it and owned it and took a direct ownership instead of taking more direction over the situation that you pretty much have created. It right. does. That's not what we were asking. It's not what I was asking. That's not what you were asking. That's not what anybody was asking for him to do. And it just seems like there's this. It's a chip on his shoulder. It's more of a spiteful, like, and I'm not saying George McCaskey is spiteful, although we're going to get to something in a second. I just feel like I'm going to do it because my name's George McCaskey. I'm named after Papa. You know what I'm saying? Like my family, everything. I'm going to do it because it's my family. And that's kind of where I can empathize. I could, empathize with them, but that's not how you run a football business. That's not how you run a football organization.
Yeah. I mean, but listen, the board says it's fine, right? So if the board is saying you got the forever job, you know what I'm saying? It's, look how long Michael had that position, right? I mean, actually he had some success, even though he didn't want to, he wanted to take more credit than he probably deserved for that success, especially since his grandfather had set the team, that 80s team up to win that Super Bowl by hiring Mike Dick and telling Mike Dick to keep Buddy Ryan as the defensive coordinator, right? But I mean, dude, 2 winning seasons in 11 years. Just think about 2, and you're not telling me you're doing a full overhaul of this organization football wise. You're not telling me that you're going to try to be the smart. Think about when they asked him about the culture of the Bears. And now I'm paraphrasing. Excuse me. I don't remember all of it. Tough, gritty, smart, opportunists, I believe. He named all of it. Okay. What about for you? What's the culture? Because like there's no culpability for what takes place. And I get it. You own the team. But even as a business, when does it make more sense as a business to make sure that the team is operating at its optimum levels by perhaps taking you out of that position and inserting someone else into that position? Because under your care, this team has just been abysmal. So hopefully, again, it'll change. I look forward to some of these GM candidates' names getting called up. I hope they go with, some smart and intelligent people. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's the Bears and you never know.
And this week they had interviewed a bunch of people. Like I said, they were working at rapid speed. And it's something that troubles me. It's something that troubles Sean, this packing in of interviews and such, where that you could have handled a lot of this weeks ago if you would have just done the right thing and been a smart organization and got rid of your GM and head coach like you would have eventually. But Bears have interviewed a few people: Glenn Cook, Eagles head coach, or former Eagles head coach Doug Peterson, if I pronounce his name wrong, Quasi Adolfo-Mensah, the Browns VP of football operations, Champ Kelly, director of pro scouting for the Chicago Bears, and also today they interviewed Jeff Ireland for their general manager position and also Brian Flores for their head coaching job. And, before we get into some of the more comical parts of that segment, you had a show the other day with, I believe it was Alex Shapiro, Adam Hogue, and also with Cap, with Dave Kaplan. And Dave expressed his, I guess he was questioning. He didn't want Brian Flores at all because of the rumors down in Miami. And you had expressed, and you also had expressed I agree with you to an extent. This who gives a damn like type of approach. If he could find a way to
get it done
going and find a way to get it done, who cares? Right. But also with that, and trust me, I would like Brian Flores just because of the attitude change. But can you find guys that are not going that he's not going to alienate, that aren't going to feel some type of way if he jumps down their throat? And I'm talking about his own staff.
Oh no, you see the Tua stuff that's you see it now how Miami is hitting you with, oh, let me show you why we got rid of Brian Flores. Again, there's more to the Brian Flores stuff, and I don't have firsthand knowledge of as far as his character. But if we're just talking about sport, and when I say that, I don't know anything about him off the field doing anything crazy. That's not what I'm trying to say. But if we're saying that he rubs people the wrong way, and I'm not saying he'll ever become this. You know, rubs people the wrong way. Bill Belichick. All right, you know, like if he's like really Belichickian, you know what I'm saying, to the point, like, dude, let's be honest. Outside of towards the later half of this year, Tua Tagovailoa has been holding their ass back. Right. So, and he wasn't. Then we found out he's not even the quarterback he wanted. Flores wanted Justin Herbert. So, and then this is the crazy part. So, you know, the general manager who, you know, they told Tua, you know, somebody in the organization is like, he don't even like you. You know what I'm saying? He wanted. So Tua's now feeling a certain kind of way about, okay, I got this coach. This coach doesn't even like me. Probably is he doing what's best for me? Blah, blah, skippy, whatever. Again, I roll tide all day. I'm going to be honest. I questioned Tua coming up. Right. I was a person that was like, look, I think he may be straight, but all this hype, I don't think he's going to be that. Right. I used to tell my partners, like, to be honest with you, now he's more accurate, but just Hurt has a better arm than him.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so imagine the Tua played up north rather than being lucky ass to find himself in warm ass Miami. But again, so I mean, looking at that situation with Brian Flores, to a degree, I don't care. Now, should we be cautious? Yes. Because you don't want to have to be back here in 3 years because Brian Flores is alienating people. But you go and find a general manager that him and the general manager can see eye to eye, and you go from there. If you're talking about getting back to defensively, we see how well that team played defensively. Real never quit in that team. You know what I'm saying? Like, real never quit. I mean, in a division where it ain't easy. Only team that's easy in that division is the Jets.
Yeah, and you got a question now. Was that because of Brian Flores putting a boot to somebody's ass, or was it like? And to me, I would say that it's pointing towards that. Like, you know what I'm saying. If you're just lackadaisical during a losing streak, and they had an ugly losing streak, I mean, somebody needs to be fired up enough to hold you to the flame. Like, and I think that's what Brian Flores did. Did he drag the best out of them? I think that's exactly what he did. Even if he alienated some people, he got the best out of the Miami Dolphins.
And listen, believe me, you know, I'm a blackety black guy, right? And Brian Flores didn't even play like that with Kenny Stills. He traded his ass. They got his ass up out of there, right? So just as far as there's a certain structure. This is how it's going to run. If you're going to be on the ship or you're going to get your ass off the ship. This is another point. When the hell was the last time that the Miami Dolphins had sustainable success? You know how long ago that was? You're talking about Dave Wannstedt.
Marino's last game was 62-7 against the
don't do that one. Don't.
I'm just saying that's how long ago.
That's hard, bro. You did that like about 5 or 6 months ago. Because I blocked it out. I blocked that game out. And you brought it back to memory.
You don't want that to be Dan Marino's.
It's not Dan Marino's last game. I remember back in there was rumors that he may go to the Miami. I mean the Minnesota Vikings, right? And I was like, oh man, that last game looked so bad. But I would want him just so and this is of course I had Randy Moss and they had Chris Carter. I was like, dude, I would just want him to go up there just so that last game wouldn't be the last time I saw Dan Marino. But I was like, what if he's worse?
They were unstoppable then. They would be even more unstoppable.
I would have hoped, but I'm just still looking at it. Outside of having Dan Marino, they're a lot. They're really bearish, to be honest with you. And they basically what they had is a Lovey. They had them a little Lovey over there, and they ain't like it, right? We're gonna do it this way. We're gonna go this way. I believe, and I could be wrong. I believe majority of the victories that they've had over the last 3 seasons have been largely in part by what Brian Flores was doing with that team. All right. Now we'll see next season, the year after that. But again, these players have had another year, and there was some structure. We'll see if they tear down or try to totally change the culture. You know what I'm saying? but still, like, again, because this is the thing too. Like, we know athletes, right? And we know from off the field stuff, from on the field stuff, that we make allowances for them depending on how good they are. So now I can't make an allowance on Brian Flores. You know what I'm saying? Again, if he's not a criminal, right? If he's not a criminal, like football, these people are.
And you gotta think, do you remember Miami had issues with their like offensive coordinator, the special teams coach doing blow down in this facility?
Yeah,
like, Miami has internal conflict or cracks or fractures in it that they, like you said, they're not a consistent organization, similar to the Bears. So you got two dysfunctional organizations right now. One that gets rid of their head, like. To me, like I said, you go on a losing streak like that, you come out of it, and I know how this organization misuses losing streaks and try to flip them as a positive.
Right.
But the way Brian Flores did it, he was able to beat teams that they shouldn't have beat. Right. He was able to continue the momentum. They were able to continue the momentum and at least get close to a playoff berth when everybody written them off. I like the second chance guys. I like the Todd Bowles. I like I like giving Brian Flores a second chance. Your guy, and you've expressed it. I've expressed it. Sean's expressed it. A bunch of people. The Jim Harbaugh factor, right? It looks to me, Jim Harbaugh, the Michigan went ahead and signed a defensive coordinator today from off of Notre Dame. I'm going to go ahead and try to find that. But what is your take on Jim Harbaugh? Are they going to even ask to have an interview with him? Is he going to even get a call to get an interview?
I don't think they have to do that with college coaches. That's the thing where I think we may not find out unless I don't think we'll find out. Only time we'll find out is if he was leaving. And I meant because if they interview him, I would think he's up. Again, I could be wrong, and this could all be leveraged to gain more income from the fact that his contract was restructured. This new contract he had settled for less money due to the fact that they hadn't been beating Ohio State and winning as many games as they should have been winning, right? So you have to look at it, all right, there's a leverage play here perhaps. But to me, if he interviews with somebody, think about this, dog, you're recruiting, right? How can you be recruiting and you're interviewing in NFL jobs? So to me, if he takes an interview, I would think he's leaning towards leaving Michigan. You know what I'm saying? So I really think the only way we find out is if he's leaving, because if, let's just say they still talk and go through back channels. They don't have to go through really back channels to talk to Harbaugh because they know him. You know what I'm saying? Michael McCaskey was pretty fond of him, I believe, right? So, if they find out he's interested, okay, but more than interested, because him talking to you does hurt his team's recruiting this year. Again, I'm not saying he can't go back to Michigan or anything like that, because I think I could be wrong. But then last year we were talking about him and Michigan getting rid of him, and I think
it was like an ultimatum. They took money away from him because he had lost.
Yeah, but we were saying, why would you get rid of him? Y'all aren't that good. Michigan, you're not Ohio State. This isn't the 70s and 80s. He was your best bet.
The playoff has exposed a lot of historically great college teams to the talent of the SEC and the ACC, and what the talent pool down south. A lot of teams have gotten. And not saying that Ohio State can't get talent, or you can't find talent in Michigan. You're going to find that Midwestern talent. You're going to find big offensive linemen. You're going to probably find a big bruising running back. Maybe you find a possession receiver. Like a big go up and get them type receiver. But you don't always have the speed. And and part of that with me, I'm thinking, Jim, if you look at it, the bigger picture, imagine yourself constantly just being the perennial Big Ten champion. If you could beat Ohio State, let's just say all goes well, right? And in this next contract with Michigan, you win the Big Ten championship 5 times, right? How many times are you going to win the national championship? How many real times you have a shot at winning the national championship with the product that you have on your team? With the talent you have, you got to be honest with yourself at a certain point as a coach. I think with that being said, it's going to be a tough road if he's going to choose to stay with Michigan. He's doing it for the money. So for me, is Jim Harbaugh that guy? Is he ready to just say, hey, I'm good, I'm going to be the old ball coach at Michigan? Or does he want to challenge himself again and try to get back in the NFL? There's a lot of Raiders talk. There's a lot of there's been some Bears talk, not enough. I'm afraid that if the Bears don't go ahead and at least give him a chance, they'll be making a huge mistake.
To be honest with you, excuse me, I think I would think, again, it's the Bears. I would think they have or would have reached out to Jim Harbaugh. I mean, let alone how many Michigan people are here in Chicago professionally, like easily. You don't even need that to reach out and find out if he's interested in the job, right? Like they can find out, you know what I'm saying? Whoever his agent is, you can easily find out if he's interested in the job. Now I'll say this. I don't know if staying in Michigan is only about money. It's also about power, and they could have fired him. They didn't. You know what? Of course, I want to win a Super Bowl, right? And I'm still young enough that I can still come back to the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like you've seen how well I've been in the NFL. I can still come back to the NFL. But like right now, I don't have to deal with a general manager, right? I don't have to really deal with ownership like that. I got these boosters, you know what I'm saying? But I don't have to deal with ownership. And if the president and the AD are really rocking with me, they can insulate me from some of that mess anyway. And I mean, I think too, most of those fans should just know, like, the good old days are never coming back, probably. You know what I'm saying? So be appreciative of what you're getting. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, Alabama lost to Georgia, right? I wasn't mad. I appreciate, all the winning. I know that it's going to be, the chance of it ever happening again is slim to none. So I really, like, I'm 2 championships ago where it's like everything's cream for me when it comes to Alabama. But still with the Harbaugh thing, man, it'll be cool. It would be cool, but let me also say this. We sometimes forget that Colin Kaepernick started to plateau under Harbaugh's watch. Or just because all the grass ain't green on the other side. It wasn't he was just gone and Kaepernick plateaued. No, Kaepernick started plateauing before Harbaugh and Trent Baalke got into it and Harbaugh bounced. You know what I'm saying? So that's just an equal. I'm not saying I wouldn't hire him. This was, to be honest with you, if this was like Stanford coming out of Stanford, I was all for it. And I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying, like, back then, I was like, please. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes I wonder if Jim has a little bit of Larry Brown on him. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, as soon as I get here, I'm looking across the one, you wear your welcome, but also you're always looking across the street. Like, oh, y'all build a new house? Oh, right. Just never really can settle down. And I also wonder if the Trent Baalke thing is just between them, their relationship with that, or if that's problematic moving forward in the future. Even though I'll say this, wherever he ends up as a head coach, if he returns to the NFL, he is going to have some say so, I would think, in who the GM is, unless him and the GM are already see eye to eye in some way.
Now, with that point being said, and that's a good point, and I think a lot of people, and I even took it as like, yeah, dummy, you need to hire a GM before you hire a head coach. But if you have a higher head coach, if you have an opportunity to hire a Jim Harbaugh, right, that particular coach, if you have an opportunity to hire that particular coach, I would do it. And there's only like one. So it's if you have an opportunity to hire Jim Harbaugh, then speak to him about what he wants as a GM, because then you give him a little bit more power, but you have that GM as a buffer between you and the head coach. And it would be more of his decision than anything. So Jim Harbaugh feels like he has some say-so in what's going on, a little more than what he probably should. But the GM is a guy that he wants, somebody that's not going to, at least for the most part, ruffle Jim's feathers, and maybe you could keep the peace between the front office and the head coach and what's going on with the football organization.
I'll say, listen, this is pie in the sky. Another person, and again, I'm saying people who there's something going on in their organization to a certain degree. If, the general manager or team president from the Steelers is going to retire or leave, and if Tomlin is saying like, yeah, I'm ready for my next move, even though, why would you do that? Because clearly you can have this job for a long time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, you got his job for a long, and he has had it for a long time, but even longer than that. I would let him decide, but I would think probably it may be said president or general manager leaving there would be like, yeah, this is a tan dip. Like if that pie in the sky would happen, I would give that benefit to Mike Tomlin. You know, if again, I know it's not going to happen if Sean Payton, and again, that we guess that Ryan Pace probably would have stayed in his job. If if I was getting like a top supreme guy, then yeah, you can kind of have you definitely. I mean, you look at Andy Reid. You know what I'm saying? Like if Andy Reid, after leaving the Eagles, you knew, regardless of the fact that he hasn't won a Super Bowl, but offensively, he can get your team moving and he can keep that house in order as far as that locker room. So you give him that allowance because of what he's proven. I would do that for several people, but looking at it again, the most likely, because most of these guys right now on the outside looking in aren't likely, I would think. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, Harbaugh, there's more leaning to the Raiders. Harbaugh's or the Cali dude, or his wife is from Cali, I believe. You know, it's a new arena. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how much, if he likes, you know, playing with the One Darn Bandit or whatever with the you know what I'm saying? I don't know how big he is into gambling or anything like that, looking at the khakis out there at the blackjack table. But which team is more attractive? Because I'll say this. I would want to say the Bears, you know what I'm saying? But they have their new stadium. The Bears, you're talking about 7 years from now, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like, they said the latest. Tiff said the latest could be Q1 of next year, right? All right, so they got the land, so they're gonna start building on it right away. Now they may start building some of the other stuff, but they still got to get out of this contract with the city. And I mean, now they may be about to make so much money that they don't care about the city's contract, and they can easily pay it off. But I would still say 5 to 7 years at least before you get a new stadium. So they got that new stadium, the Death Star out there. It looks phenomenal. You have a quarterback already. And clearly they're going to probably let you do whatever, even though I think here he will be able to do whatever. Now, you played here, but that also may be a reason you may not want to come back because you know it's dysfunctional, right? And like you know it from the inside out, you know, and let's not act like he hasn't heard and he's not in coaching circles, you know what I'm saying? To where it's like, yeah, you know, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that, blah, blah, this. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, if George McCaskey has a history of snapping at people at the ticket office, right? And man, now I know George wasn't in that capacity when Jim Harbaugh was the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. But I'm just saying, if culturally, that's what ownership's been doing over there, you may not want to come back. You know what I'm saying? Like,
imagine the Ditka and Michael McCaskey. Imagine what was going on back then. And I wonder, and I was looking at some of the stats. I went back to 92 because that was Ditka's last season. And I went ahead and I was just looking at all these four out of 5 place finishes, because remember you had the Bucks for everybody that doesn't remember, or you know, for the younger generation, you had the Bucks. A lot of 4th place finishes, a lot of 5th place finishes.
NFC Central, everybody, not the
NFC.
NFC
North. Central, correct? The NFC Central. So I was like, all right, well, look at how bad this is. Like we talk about George's 11 years. Well, let's go back to 92, right? About almost 30 years. You had about 7 playoff appearances and only 6 double-digit win seasons. That's only ridiculous. 6. Like, and there's huge gaps between them. Yeah, it's so sad. There's huge gaps between these runs. You know what I mean? And you see, guys, I was looking. I think in '97, Ricky Prohl was the leading wide receiver, and I'm like, geez, like Ricky Prohl, and then Ricky Prohl comes back in 06 and wins a Super Bowl with the Colts against the Chicago Bears. What, like, how ironic? Like that's some Bears-ish right there. Like that's something that could only happen to the Chicago Bears, and not like Ricky Prohl, some like super all-star wide receiver. But how many times do you see guys find success after they leave the Chicago Bears, right? And they do that with a lot of Chicago teams. But how many times do guys find success after leaving this organization? How many times have you heard guys talk about how, you know, crazy it is? And now you're hearing even more about how crazy it is and how crazy it's been run. You had mentioned a ticket booth incident, and that'll just bring me into the OLIN beef. It was shocking. Like I kind of was just like, whoa, First of all, I didn't know there was any type of personal beef between George and Olin. And then when he just kind of called him a liar, I was like, look, the $15 thing, that's something I could see you doing. Like, that's something that everybody could see you doing because of how you've run your organization in the past, how you treated former players. I mean, for God's sakes, it took people talking from the outside to get you to put something up for poor Gale Sayers. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it took all that. Like, you're just not focused on what's going on this football field, what's going on with this football team. I think the care is only because your name is on it and because it's your family's legacy. But other than that, I feel like George's focus, and it was clear as day when they were talking about the Arlington Heights thing, George's focus is on business, clearly. Now, this beef with Olin, I thought it was just ridiculous for him to pretty much call him a liar in front of everybody. I thought it was, after he tried to act like he was protecting former players by not going by saying he doesn't go ahead and ask for that much opinion because he doesn't want to put them in some type of predicament with their job, and saying something on air that is probably top secret or supposed to be kept under wraps. You go ahead and you do this to one of your former players, a huge beloved former player at that.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I know, and Olin has talked about it. They rewarded him handsomely at center, right? But still, think about the body breaking down. We all know the type of player that Olin Kreutz was. You know what I'm saying? You knew he was dragging his body up off that field, right? Why? Even if he rubs you the wrong way, why would you put that out there? Your ownership. You don't even have to play games like this. That was preposterous. And that's again why I say my man was feeling himself. You know what I'm saying? He was spicy. He was like, I'm coming in hot. You know what I'm saying? And hey, man, it's more of the same, dude. You know what I'm saying? It'll be different. And dude, call people out when you win it, right? Like, but this is hard to say. What's going to set him straight? The only thing that will really set them straight is if we stop giving them our money. It's never going to happen. 8 and 9 games, home games, Soldier Field's going to be sold out, and then Arlington Heights is going to be sold out, at least initially. You know what I'm saying? And I won't even say initially, depending on just how rabid Bears fans are.
And they're going to be fine with, but the thing is that makes me crazy about is they'll be fine with marching a 5 and what it would be 5 and 12 team out there. You know what I'm saying? They'll be fine with marching. You know how bad that Champaign, like that whole transition from old Soldier Field to Champaign to new Soldier Field. Those are some of the worst Bears years ever. So those are some of the most inept, terrible. I can't even watch a half Bears teams I've ever seen. And it feels like Groundhog's Day. You know what I'm saying? It's just like we're doing the same thing all over again. And the thing that I got with Olin, I was just like, and you felt Olin's how hurt he was. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a damn prideful guy, a damn prideful man. And I'm not talking about like he was emotional, but he was hurt. Like you call me a fucking liar. Like I went over here, I bled for you. I bled for you. I fucking fought for you, for your organization. Might not be for you because when you were running things, but for your organization. And I tried to hold the organization up to the highest standards as an ambassador of the team. And you go out there and you go ahead and you give this bullshit type of approach to answer to a question that to a story that was real. You didn't even do your due diligence as an owner, as a lawyer, to do it. Like how arrogant, how ignorant can you be? Like that was the part of the interview where I was just like, what the fuck is going on here?
Right.
Like, honestly, what the fuck is going on here?
Right. That's what, like, dude, I left my laptop after the end of that. I was just like, damn. The old lady's like, what happened? I said, it's the same, but it's worse. Like, that's what made it so crazy at the beginning of this. Talking about waking up Monday and finding out Ryan Pace is gone. Right? Like, that was the big thing, because we all knew Matt Nagy was on his way out. The Bears could have bared, but you was pretty sure Matt Nagy was on his way up out of here, right? But the question was with a clean house. So we wake up, we found out the house is clean. And you know what George McCaskey did? He dirtied that bad boy up as fast as possible. right? Like, and I mean, I'm full on the fact that why is Ted here? He's not sitting next to you now. If y'all got to tell me through the door.
That was so sneaky. That was so, and he's
Right.
like, because he was like, Ted's on the call, and I didn't hear Ted was on the call because I actually took my wife. I was taking my wife. She had a doctor's appointment, so I was on the road, but I was listening. I'm just like trying to hear. I'm like, quiet. Like, stop talking to your mom. Hang up the phone. So, but I'm listening, and he just said it so abrupt. I didn't catch it, and then when Ted popped up,
that's what called. I was like, what? I thought he wasn't here.
It was like when the Undertaker comes on the scene or something. I was like, what? I'm like, no, dude. Like he came out of fucking nowhere, and it scared. Like I was just, and I text Phil, Phil Toshin from the Tape Never Lies, DDP. I texted him, man, I'm terrified. I don't know what the hell. I don't know what's gonna. I'm scared. I'm scared that we're gonna live in the same type of environment, the same situation over and over and over again. I'm afraid that we're gonna be in that type of purgatory where it just doesn't stop, and it's all because of. And I don't want to say it's pride. It really is. It really is pride. They're a prideful family. Obviously, this is a storied franchise. But how much more? Like 30 years? 30 years? You know what I mean? You've gone to one Super Bowl in 30 years since you and look at like the New York Giants have 4 Super Bowls. The Packers got a bunch of Super Bowls. Like these storied franchises have more than one Super Bowl. You're stuck at one because you keep spinning your wheels doing the same damn thing over and over again. I don't know when it's going to stop. It's scary.
It'll be when you and I are in our 60s and 70s. I'll tell you what, if they move out to Arlington and they keep this up for another, and it's sad that I have to say another 30 years, they keep this up for another 30 years, they still have fans out there. It's not going to be sold out. And think about that place is going to be huge probably, right? So you're not talking about having the smallest capacity stadium in NFL. You know damn well they're not going to have the smallest capacity stadium. They're going to try to have Big Ten up in tournaments and everything in that bad boy, right? If you go out there and you keep this mess up for another 30 years, one, just initially some fans aren't going to go. Also, people are going to be dead who love that team. But the point I'm going to get, these young kids, right? Like, okay, sometimes like we got into sports, maybe I got into sports as far as my dad was into sports. So it was a way for us to communicate and get closer, right? Some people don't have that. But some people do have that, and they're still like, I'm not going to fall for this team. Look at Anthony Davis. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, Anthony Davis is right to say, why am I going to cheer for someone who loses? When I was a kid, and this was like 84, I remember, I don't know if it was maybe 83 or 84, because I know the Cubs had one of those years. Both the White Sox and the Cubs right back then had a hot year. But I remember I used to get up in the morning, and my mother would have the radio on, and she'd be ironing clothes, right? Little transistor radio. And every morning, whatever radio station and show she would watch, they would say the Cubs lost. And as a kid, I remember thinking, why do people like them? Right? I remember thinking as a kid, like that doesn't make sense to me, right? There's going to be
this isn't trolling. These are facts. Like these are facts. Like,
yeah. I mean, but I'm not even saying it like the White Sox are so much better. That's not. But see, listen, on that whatever show, I guess whoever was on that show, that was a part of that show. Whatever she was watching, I don't even remember how many times they talked about the White Sox on there, right? And this wasn't like my mother didn't listen to a sports show. This was like some morning show.
They just happened to mention.
Yeah, they just happened to mention it. So you're going to run into a situation like this. Isn't going to be forever. I'm going to tell you that if you keep this going, I know you may think it's forever. It's you, especially if you're moving out the city too. You know what I'm saying? There's a certain part to going to some place that you and your family or your family members used to go to. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you can't create those out there in Arlington Heights, but if you're trying to create them and you're putting out the same product, it will take time because Bears fans are rabid. This is a great fan base when it comes to supporting their team, but sooner or later they're gonna get sick of it or be dead. And their kids, only half of their kids are gonna be on trying to do what their parents were doing. As far as, all right, I'm gonna go even if they're bad. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not gonna. It's not gonna keep happening like that, man.
Can I get you for another 15 minutes? I know we've stretched a little bit more time, but if I could get you for another 15, I wanted to ask about Jim Caldwell. Jim is a guy who, to be honest, you look at his resume with the Lions, on top of his resume with the Colts, the only guy to really have a winning record with the Detroit Lions in recent memory, a guy who has really good offense, had really good offensive teams, although they had a certain dynamic of wide receiver. It was a huge passing offense. You got a big arm in Matt Stafford. You had Megatron over the top. Never really had a running game, but that would be different here. He would have the quarterback, would have a decent wide receiver in Darnell Mooney, but definitely wouldn't have a Megatron. How do you feel about a Jim Caldwell returning in a second stint as a head coach of the Chicago Bears?
Jim Caldwell should have another chance to be a head coach, but I don't want him to be a head coach of my team. And I don't really even know why. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the person that's like, my coach has to be rah-rah. I'm not that guy. I wonder, are there limits to Jim Caldwell? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a guy that can get you to A to B, but he's not necessarily an A to C guy. You know what I'm saying? So, and I could be wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, clearly you hit the key word on winning with the Detroit Lions. All right. You know how hard that is? You know what I'm saying? To sustain. But I'm being honest, I'm not interested in Jim Caldwell. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are like that, and that's unfortunate, but just being honest. And I mean, I'm all black head coach, but nah, if I miss out, that's the thing too, when you look at the coordinators situation, dude, there's going to be a coordinator hired this year that probably may end up being a good head coach. I'm not really kind of willing to do that, depending though. We was talking about this on Under Center. Alex gave this. Did Alex give you the Eberflus?
He did. He gave us the Eberflus. Okay. And honestly, because I was trying to say it, and I was glad he said it because I was just like Eberflus.
Oh yeah, I probably messed it up right there. I probably messed it up right there. I'll find out later if it's Eberflus. But no, Eberflus. If you're telling me, and I mean, it's going to be messed up because you had what's his name, the team president of whatever in your building, and he was with the Kansas City Chiefs and came back. He was the guy that I want the Bears to hire, right? If they go out, and I'm being honest, if they go get Morocco Brown, right, and he's the general manager, because the culture, I know, I would think, I don't know, I would think that culturally having the personnel guy and a defensive coordinator, it may hook up seamlessly. So I'll be interested depending on who the general manager is. But to be straight honest, I really don't want a coordinator because I don't feel like gambling on if this guy is the CEO of a football team. You know what I'm saying? So like my initial point was I'm willing to totally miss out on a coordinator that may become a good or a great coach and focus on someone who's done it before, and I'm happy. I will say this. I am happy that George said that basically he's open to anybody getting the job. You know what I'm saying? Because he should be. But as a Bears fan, especially with the team that's rarely hired someone who was a head coach before, I mean, I'm not interested in it, and I'm willing to take an L by not being interested in it.
I agree. I like a Jim Caldwell. I like bringing him in the building. I like giving him a shot, seeing what he has to say, because maybe you'll be surprised, or maybe
You're
we
right.
could be
You're
surprised.
Totally right. You're totally right.
The CEO, and I agree with you. It should be a CEO type of guy, but then you go ahead and you look at the cast of characters that are going to be involved. Again, I trust I trust a Bill Polian. I trust a Tony Dungy if he's going to be involved, but how much? And Olin had pointed out what happens when they leave. What happens when the season starts? And you got and the GM comes to you, hey, I want to talk to you about football. Are you going to give him that? I'm just a fan. I'm not a football evaluator line. Is that what you're going to give him?
I would think.
Are you going to come up to him like this?
But remember, okay, but wait. He to be fair, he said I enjoy talking football with these guys. It was that Matt Nagy was asking him a question that he felt that falls in your preview. That's not on me. Don't ask me that. That's why I'm paying you. Is basically how I took it from what he was saying. Now with him working directly with the general manager, I'm sure he can sit there and be ignorant and say, "But educate me." I don't know if he will. You know what I'm saying? Because my biggest thing is this. Let me have McCaskey as my last name, right? And like some football, first thing I would do is go and work in another organization, All right. If I was Kenneth McCaskey, I would have took my ass off to work in another organization, a stable organization, find out how they ran that and bring that back to my team, my family, and then work my way up to the chairman role. Dude, can you think about how beloved a family member of the McCaskeys would become if they were in charge and running that bad boy spot on? You know what I'm saying? Like, dog, we got the best owner in football. Like, you know how crazy it would be? Like, it wouldn't be a question. You know what I'm saying? Like,
embraced immediately. Immediately embraced.
No one has a football ties. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? A lot. And no one is like, you know what? I think I want to know the business that Grandpa started up. You know, like that bothers me, to be honest with you. Like, if I had a family,
they pay Muggs, like didn't Muggs have kids? You know, didn't he have kids?
I know Muggs. All I know is Muggs was supposed to take over the organization, and Muggs unfortunately passed. But everybody doesn't know that. I don't know Muggs' real first name, to be honest, because I don't think it's Muggs, right?
No,
but
I just know him as
George Hallis's son was supposed to be. He was basically I wasn't born. He was grooming his son to take over the organization. His son unfortunately died, and that's how it ended up where Virginia is the person that was running the organization. Her and her husband.
It's just Junior. He's Junior. He's George Hallis Jr.
Okay, thank you. So I guess that's why you would call him Muggs, right? But now I heard this. I don't know what you're about to say. What are you saying? Let me know what you're about to.
No, I was just going to say, you would hope that he had kids, but I think they were paid off a while. I think they were pushed out a while ago, and it just leaves you with the McCaskeys, and it's like it just seems to me like it's a football family. Like you said, imagine if somebody was able to come in here and just do the football thing. I think George is trying to force that. George is really trying to force that and be that guy. He's not that guy. He doesn't realize that he's not that guy, but he's not that guy. The tough act, the buzzwords, the note card. It was pretty much a note card press conference. You know what I'm saying? There was no real heart involved other than, maybe the initial address. But other than that, I'm looking at it as like, man, what happens in the draft? Are you going to involve yourself in the draft at all? Like, we know Ted Phillips is involved in previous draft, they're in the war room. So are you going to be in the war room, George? And with that question, I want to ask you, what approach do they go with this season? Obviously, they got to hire a GM and a head coach. But what do you think that the number one factor coming into the draft and also free agency, what do the Bears need to go ahead and get? Not first and not in any particular order, but what is the most important role? We'll do it this 1 through 3. What are the most important positions you think the Bears need to address in the draft and free agency?
Receiver, cornerback, 5 technique defensive end. Because and I would release Eddie Goldman. I think Kyrus Tonga may be able to do it. You probably later in the draft may have to draft another, thick DT nose tackle for reps and stuff like that. But you got Akeem Hicks is out the building, right? And think about how
you heard the
I heard all that.
Yeah,
exactly. But regardless of all of the antics, we know how he was affected on the field. Because to be honest with you, we kind of knew this about Akeem Hicks. I've said it on here on Shot of Mine. Like, dude played it to the level. He was a little, but the production was there.
It was there.
Don't get kicked out the game, Akeem. That's all you used to hope. Like, please don't get kicked out of the game, right? So you knew he was hot-headed or whatever. You shouldn't go out like that. I'll say that too. If you sign a contract, you should fulfill it. That's just, you should live up to your side of that deal. But 5 technique. I would want to say offensive lineman. But you gotta one or both of them kids better be straight. All right. You know what I'm saying? Now, the new general manager, those aren't his players, though. So how attached will he be? Sorry. Outside of, okay, at least I got warm bodies, you know what I'm saying, for right now until I got to find out what they can do and evaluate them and then go out and either replace them or see if we can sit there and raise them up. But yeah, I think it's wide receiver and it's corner. Like you got to put some more equity in cornerback. Like, ooh, you know what? It's nice having a nice corner, but what about having two? Right? Like
Imagine that. Imagine that.
It's crazy. I mean, and so you got to go out. You got to get another cornerback. You're stuck with Bojack. Bojack played better at the end of the year. But you're stuck. I know you can't cut him. You stuck with him. I don't know.
And there was some huge and the thing is that I feel like it's a 50-50 split. Eddie did come play. He played closer to the line later in the season. They started moving him up. He started coming downhill at Cats. It's the secondary. It was the certain spots in the certain times of the game, big spots where the secondary would just be like, "Hey, we're over here in the stands. Like we thinking about where we're going after the game.
Right?
You know, like where are we even?" One in particular, you saw. It was Kendall Vildor. It wasn't Kendall Vildor. It was Crawford, I believe. He bit so hard on the play action in Seattle. He was all the way across the field while Russell Wilson's rolling out to the other side of the field and hits Everett, on that deep route. It was you had two screw ups. You had one biting down on the play action fake, and you had the other guy not doing his job regardless because he had that deep third. And what happened? He ended up getting burnt for a touchdown. That happened too many times, and too often it happened on third down as well.
I totally agree. I mean, there's nothing for me to add to that. Yeah, like you, dog. I mean, like I said, you stuck with Bojack, stuck with Eddie. So he's there. You know what I'm saying? I'm fine with Alec Ogletree being the running mate for Roquan Smith. And on top of that, you about to pay Roquan, right? So it feels that way that they're it ain't even fit. Dude, guess what? Roquan ain't going nowhere, or David Montgomery. I'm gonna let you know that right now. You know what he's gonna tell the GM? Sign them. But I'll say this in a good way. If you think they are cultural fixtures, you know what I'm saying? That's not a bad thing. And both of them have earned their paydays. It's not even a question. I mean, especially at least Roquan was drafted 8th. So he has some real coin in his pocket. I think David Montgomery's entire contract is $4 million, right? And it's not even over yet. So he doesn't even have the whole $4 million yet, right? So it's like, dude, I want that brother to get his bread. So I believe, things could change. They'll definitely get paid. And I'm fine with them getting paid. I mean, even though with Roquan being an off-the-ball linebacker, he's sensational at his job. He has some little quirks, but I love how he just jumps on the backs of offensive players. Like, I'm not even about to try anything else. We'll see how far you can carry me, right? Just like and it's not like a light jump on. It's like, oh my God.
It's a pounce.
Like,
he pounces on
He pounces on
him. He weighs him down.
It's like, you're not going I love.
Like I saw a lion do that shit. I've seen this shit before on National Geographic.
Right. So yeah, But what are yours, Ivan?
Mine is one. I think it's offensive lineman, and honestly, it could be. I think the offensive lineman you could find in free agency. You don't necessarily need to draft an offensive lineman, but the way I'm looking at this wide receiver stock in the draft, I think you need to go and attack both. It needs to be both free agent, a free agent receiver and draft the receiver. So I'm going to go O-lineman 1, receiver 2, cornerback 3. I feel like in rounds 4, 5, and 6, you got to find at least one player that's going to contribute. You know what I'm saying? We have this one more year where we don't have a first round draft pick, where we can't get a top talent. If we could bear through this season, but if we could find a second round guy that contributes right away, a third round guy that, hopefully and I'm not talking about hitting on every single one. You're obviously not going to hit on every single one, but let's say the 4th round guy hits for you. You know what I'm saying? If we could find a balance of good free agents that help you out and some young guys that could come in, I feel like this turnaround could be quicker than it is. But for now, it's O-lineman, receiver, and cornerback.
Okay.
But yeah, Ken, man, thank you for joining me. I know we had a little bit of a late start, but I appreciate you staying and talking, chopping it up. It's been a frustrating week, to be honest with you. I saw your face when I said I listened to this thing 10 times, but I did, man. I just like with a fine-tooth comb, because George is a particular. Like, I feel like George is a person that shouldn't mix words. You know what I'm saying? George is a former lawyer. He's a person that words should be your life. Like, you should be specific with what you say. And that press conference, like I said, it was just like, what the fuck is going? Like, where are we at? Like, where are we at? Is this 11? Are we back in 2011? Like, what's going on? That was a frustrating part. But Ken, thank you for joining me, man. You made it a great show. Let everybody know where they can find you online and at work.
You can find me at That's Davis on all social media platforms. Of course, check out That Davis Show, and always check out the Under Center podcast on NBC Sports Chicago. Ivan, always appreciate it, man. Have a great weekend, and I'll holler at you. I don't know if I'm hollering at you Monday. What happened today? Y'all kicked me out. Y'all dumped me?
I didn't dump you.
All right.
I had you. And I don't know what happened today. Hey, I don't dump you. I give you a whole intro. Speaking of, I gotta get you an intro.
No.
I gotta get you an intro. I gotta get you a little light one.
Don't send me out with that much the passion in me with the very right. That,
No. I gotta say, I'm gonna get you a new. I'm gonna get you a brand new one for this show specifically.
Great work on the one. Great work on this one that you got for this show, man.
Oh, I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Great work, man. Listen, always appreciate you. Have a terrific weekend. I hope the babies are doing well, man. Stay safe and positive, everybody. And hopefully they'll hit on. Hopefully they'll get a general manager that knows what he's doing. I can at least just hope for that. A general manager that knows what he's doing.
Hopefully we're wrong this
time. Listen, we love the team, so we hope it clicks. Like, hopefully this will be the person who changes the tide for this organization for at least a decade moving forward. Hopefully. But if I'm going off of history doesn't necessarily say that will happen.
Yeah, I agree, man. Thanks, Ken, for joining us. We'll see you later, bro.
Later.
Guys, that was Ken Davis from the UnderCenter podcast, and also That's Davis. Man, it's a lot to digest, a lot to think about when it comes to George McCaskey and what he's going to do as far as his role moving forward with the team in season. The in-season part is the one that scares me the most. I know finding a GM and a head coach is a huge task, but you got a guy in Bill Polian and Tony Dungy that should be there. They should be able to find somebody competent. I would hope somebody competent. But once the season starts, once the show starts, George McCaskey is gonna need to be called upon sooner or later. Is he going to be able to understand the needs of his general manager, or is he just going to throw his hands up and pretty much default to Ted? Is Ted going to be the mouthpiece of George from here on out? That's the frustrating part about this whole thing is we don't know what's going. Like we went from we got rid of the head coach, we got rid of the GM. This is where we need to. There's so many, and I think all of us are just wanting the Bears to succeed. There's so many good ideas out there, but you just kind of refuse to acknowledge that the consistent is you. You refuse to acknowledge that the wrong is with you, and it at a certain point, Bears fans are going to be fed up about it. Ken mentioned, fans leaving AD with the Packers. I'm never going to leave. I'm not going to have a side team. I'm going to root for certain teams, but I'm not going to name them my side team or anything like that. If whoever wants to do it, good. I mean, kudos to you. That's fine. It's just, with this team, like Ken said, we're going to be there. We're going to come back. We live and die with this team, regardless of what happens. Guys, I'm going to take a quick break. And after the break, I'm going to give you my picks for this weekend's playoff, but this wild card weekend. It's going to be Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It's going to be the biggest wild card weekend in NFL history. It's actually going to be very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Saturday football, then you got Sunday all day, and then of course Monday night with the Cardinals and the Rams. But I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'll give you my picks for this weekend's games.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Here's Voracek steaming into the Hawk zone, tried to dump the puck in deep, picked off by Stillman, headed to break it over the jacket line, fires, he scores!
John Weideman with the call on the Blackhawks radio network. 4-2 the final at Columbus last night. Alex DeBrincat with a pair of goals. Riley Stillman had 2 assists. Marc-Andre Fleury with 24 saves in net. Chicago's 13-18-5 with the win. They wrapped up a 3-game road trip with their second win in as many tries. Back to work this Thursday night at home against the Canadiens. 7:30 puck drop. The Bulls beat the Pistons 133-87 last night. 8 Bulls in double points. Nikola Vukovic with 22 led the way. DeMar DeRozan with a double-double, 20 points and 12 rebounds. Big matchup tonight at home against the Nets. Brooklyn 2.5 games behind first place Chicago in the East. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
You could save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, but when we just come out and say it, it feels like it falls a bit flat. So instead, we're going to have someone else say it. Because for some reason, when a random person talks about how great something is in a commercial, it's more believable.
I saved with a Progressive home and auto bundle.
And there you have it. I mean, I'm not sure why she's more believable than me, but either way, you get the point about the saving. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Make 2022 your year to glow at Ulta Beauty's Love Your Skin event happening now. Upgrade your skincare routine and discover your healthiest skin yet with up to 50% off daily beauty steals from faves like Tula, First Aid Beauty, and Clarins. Feel your best with a skincare routine made just for you. But hurry, this event ends January 22nd. Shop in-store, online, or try curbside pickup today. Ulta Beauty, the possibilities are beautiful.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Bear Show on Sports Zone Chicago. Just looked at the Bulls score. The Bulls are getting their asses whooped right now, so I'm not even going to acknowledge the rest of that game. It's an ugly one. If you want to go check it out, that's on you. But it's an ugly one against the Golden State Warriors tonight. But let's talk about this weekend's games. It's going to be a fun weekend. A lot of good matchups here. Let's start with the first one, the 3:30 game. Central Time tomorrow, Saturday. We got Cincinnati and Las Vegas. Two surprising teams. Honestly, Las Vegas, with all that they've dealt with this season, obviously the good, the bad, the ugly. Some way, somehow, they found themselves in the playoffs at 10-7. Cincinnati having a season to remember. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, two of the bright spots on there. Joe Mixon as well. You have T. Higgins, he's also a good contributor with the Cincinnati Bengals, who won the AFC North for the first time. Is it the first time ever, or the first time in a long time? I feel like it's the first time in a while. I don't think it's the first time ever. But they end up winning the North, and in surprising fashion, they beat the Baltimore Ravens. They've beaten the Steelers. They've been able to beat the Cleveland Browns. They fight their way throughout a tough division. They finally make it back into the playoffs. It's going to be a good one. I'm going to go ahead and lean towards Las Vegas, even though I feel like Cincinnati has that firepower. There's just something about this Vegas team that they just keep lingering around. They keep fighting. They keep clawing back. I don't necessarily think that it's going to be a close game. I think the scoring might get up into the mid to high 20s. Possibly into the 30s, depending on how the defenses decide to play on Saturday. But I'm going to go with the Las Vegas Raiders over the Cincinnati Bengals on Saturday. I'm going to go, if I want to give you a score, I'll say 29-27. We'll make it a real close game. We'll give them about a 2-point difference between Vegas and Cincinnati. I like Derek Carr. You know, Derek Carr was a guy that was mentioned in this offseason. Before they went ahead and signed Andy Dalton, there was rumors about Derek Carr being traded, about Russell Wilson being traded. Derek Carr, through it all, getting his first playoff appearance. I think he's going to get his first playoff victory. And then Saturday, the big game on Saturday night. I don't know how this isn't I don't know how I would probably say this one should have gotten to Sunday and not on Saturday. I feel like Pittsburgh and KC should be this Saturday night game instead of being the Sunday night game. Nonetheless, we get Nonetheless, we get Buffalo and New England, two teams that are very, very familiar with each other. They've had two epic type of performances. Buffalo getting the better of New England, and then you had that one where it was just an ugly game out there. Freezing cold, wind was crazy. A lot of running from New England. New England ended up winning that game. I think Mac Jones passed maybe 3 times in that ball game. New England found a way to win. It's going to be ugly again up in Buffalo. It's supposed to be probably the worst weather they've had playoff-wise since 94, 92, 94, something like that. Plus, they're also looking at 20 plus inches of snow coming this weekend. So it's going to be a rough, ugly game. I'm going to go with New England. I just trust Bill Belichick. Like he's in these types of games with the weather being a factor. He just you trust a guy who's been there before. You trust a guy who's seen these things before. No matter what you guys feel about him, the guy's a great football coach. I feel like he finds a way to beat Buffalo in this one again. I don't think it's going to be high scoring whatsoever. Field goals might be a non-factor in this game, depending on what the wind the wind gusts are. But I'm going to go with New England. I'm going to go with New England 13, Buffalo 6. We'll say 13-6, a touchdown difference. It's going to be an ugly game. Like I said, with the weather, if it wasn't this type of weather, I would probably be picking Buffalo in this. But the way that New England was able to hold them and control them and really run them over in that first game where they had bad weather, I think they could find a way to repeat it again. They've gotten Damian Harris back. So, their running game is even better than it was before. I'm looking for New England to win 13-6. Sunday, you got 12 o'clock game. You got Philly and Tampa. I think Tampa's going to roll big time in this. Philly might surprise you. They might give you a fight. You had Washington give Tampa a fight last season, and Tampa Bay they've had their issues. They have their injury issues. They've had their AB issues. But in this one, I just don't think Philly has enough on defense and enough on offense to outpace the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers 27, Philadelphia 13. And then in the game after that, the 3:30 game on Sunday, San Francisco and Dallas, another classic matchup between these two franchises. 12-5 is Dallas and 10-7 San Francisco. San Francisco finding a way to do it, getting back to their roots, and as Kyle Shanahan, I believe, put it, just trying to do what they do best, which is run the football. And running the football has gotten them back into playoff contention. It's gotten them into the playoffs. And honestly, I feel like that has helped Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not saying Jimmy Garoppolo is a world beater, but if you look at last game, with a jacked up thumb, Jimmy Garoppolo went ahead and got a win for the San Francisco 49ers to put them into the playoffs. So, Jimmy G's a guy that went to a Super Bowl. He's obviously one throw away from winning the Super Bowl. He's had his ups and downs, but as long as the San Francisco 49ers understand their identity and they continue to pound the rock, I think they'll be okay in this one. Dallas, with their defense, obviously with Micah Parsons coming on the scene in his rookie year, having a fantastic rookie year, probably the defensive rookie of the year. Dallas is going to be a tough task for them. Dallas has a high-powered offense. They're going to be without Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup, a guy that's going to be a free agent, but a guy that went down with a knee injury. And he was a guy that I was actually looking for the Bears to target in this offseason. And they very well might still target a Michael Gallup, depending on who's the head coach and who the GM is. But in this game, I feel like Dallas needs to go ahead and rely on Pollard and Zeke. They really need to match the ground attack of San Francisco. I think San Francisco's defense, especially the pass rush, can really get after it. They could really frustrate Dak Prescott, get him off his mark. How is Dak feeling with that leg? And I know it's been a whole year, but with a leg injury like that, being on the run and being on the run up against goons that San Francisco has up front, it's got to be on the back of your mind some way, somehow. I feel like this one's going to be tough. It's two teams that are I feel like Dallas is maybe a 1 win or 2 wins above. I feel like they're pretty much even. I feel like Dak has the better. And to be honest, I don't even know if he has the better receivers at this point. The way Deebo Samuels have been playing, the way that they've been getting contributions from Ayuk. They obviously have George Kittle. They've got weapons. They've got a good ground game. This game is going to be a lot closer than I think some people have it. I feel like San Francisco is going to give them a fight. I feel like they're going to really rely on that ground game to keep it close. I don't think they want Dak out there just because, of the over-the-top threat. Not to say San Francisco can't do the same, but Dallas can do it a lot quicker. I'm going to take Dallas in this one. I'm going to take Dallas 33, San Francisco 28. I think it gets high scoring. I think it gets very fun later as the game progresses. The first maybe quarter and a half, they're feeling themselves out. And then after that, they start opening up a little bit more and really put on a show. But I'm going to go with Dallas 33, San Francisco 28. And then the nightcap of that Sunday night set, 7:15 on NBC, Pittsburgh and KC. I think this is the end of the road for Ben Roethlisberger. A hell of a way to go out, fight and go out, because I thought Pittsburgh was dead in the water earlier in the season. Fight their way back into playoff contention, fight their way into the playoffs. They're able to go up against a formidable opponent, to say the least, but I think it's just going to be too much for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to go with Kansas City 27, Pittsburgh 19. And I gave them 19, and I think I'm being kind. In this one, I just feel like the pass rush of KC is going to find a way to get to Ben Roethlisberger and disrupt him some way, somehow, and force some type of turnover, whether it be a fumble or a forced pass that turns into an interception. They're just gonna. I feel like the pressure on Ben is just going to be insurmountable at a certain point. I'm going to go with KC in that one, and then finally the Monday night game, Arizona and LA, the Rams versus the Cardinals. The Cardinals went off to a hot start this season, a really hot start this season, and I thought they were going to go ahead and run away with the division. They ended up faltering. I think they finished, was it 1-5? 1-5 in their last 6 or something to that effect. The Cardinals have been reeling. The Rams have questions around them. I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Rams. I think Matt Stafford gets a playoff win. Finally, I think you're going to get contributions from Odell. I think the defense is going to step up against Arizona. They're going to keep Kyler Murray flustered. They're going to keep the receivers in check. They're going to keep that running game in check. I feel like the Rams step up in this one and win it. I wouldn't say handily, but they end up winning it. They ended up winning it by a decent sized margin. I would say about 10 points late in the game. I think the Rams are going to put up about, I think the Rams 24, Cardinals. Yeah, Rams 24. I'll give them Cardinals 17. Rams 24, Cardinals 17. We'll say a touchdown difference. I think the Cardinals, just the way that they've played themselves into the playoffs, I think they're going to play themselves right out of the playoffs with the inconsistency that they've brought in these last couple of weeks. I think the Rams get this one and move forward. All right, guys, that's it for me. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go ahead and put on some type of action movie and maybe do some more editing and such, getting ready for the Smoke Fellas tomorrow. Smoke Fellas on 11 to 1 tomorrow morning on Sports Zone Chicago. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook. I don't think we have a Twitter. I could be wrong. Check out the Smoke Fellas tomorrow, 11 to 1. I'll be on there as well, chopping it up with the fellas. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also like this page, another Bear Show page on YouTube as well. Like and subscribe to that. Make sure you download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps from. It was a great show, man. Ken Davis. Thank you, Ken, again for coming on. Just good conversation with him, trying to vent our frustrations, trying to, be a friend in a time of need to each other. The Bears just continue to frustrate our fans. Hopefully we're wrong. Like we said when we signed off, hopefully we're wrong. Hopefully Bill Polian and Tony Dungy and Tanisha and Soup, they all figure something out, and they get a couple guys in here at GM and head coach that can really, just bring this team back to where we want it to be. And it hasn't been there for a long time. Like I'd mentioned, post 92 or pre 92, pre 92, we're talking about the consistency of the Chicago Bears. After that, slim pickings. All right, guys, I'm Ivan Vargas. Until next time, peace.